As far as my background, my mom is Cuban and Salvadoran, and my dad is Chicano. So identify very strongly with my Chicana heritage.
So I identify as a Polish Mexican American.
Two of my great-grandmothers were from Spain. I am Puerto Rican and Dominican, born in New York, raised in Ohio.
I chose to apply to Spain because my family is from Ecuador.
Particularly my Mexican-American heritage influenced my decision to apply.
I'm a first-generation Dominican American, and my mom's side of the family, they're actually Spanish Civil War refugees.
My dad's side of the family is Mexican, and my mom's side of the family is German.
I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico.
I'm placed in 7 small pueblos outside of Logroño near Nájera, and I was a little nervous at first because I've never lived in a city smaller than the size of Washington, D.C. So going from D.C. to New York to Buenos Aires to Logroño to the pueblos of Logroño was very scary for me, but I've found the people and the culture of Spain to be incredible, unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
I think that for the Spanish people that I interact with, the idea of immigration is something they understand, but the idea of Latinos that have been in the U.S. or have lived within the boundaries of the United States for so long that they have their own culture, I think is something that was very new to them.
When I asked my students, hey, what do you eat during Christmas time? One of the things that they told me was mejillones. I thought, okay, and they asked me in turn, what do you eat? And I said, well, we make beans and rice. And they thought, beans and rice? Don't you eat ham and turkey? And I said, well, I'm a Mexican American, so for me it's a little different. Yeah, sometimes we eat ham and turkey, but sometimes we eat beans and rice. And so I think my students are getting a bigger picture of what it's like to be a Latino in the US than what they had before.
I think it's been very complex being here as a Latina, but also as an American. I'm also placed in Logroño, so it's a bit smaller, and really you don't really hear much English being spoken on the streets. It's pretty traditionally Spanish, and so I feel like my identity as speaking perfect English, but also knowing Spanish really well, I think is very complex and almost confusing for a lot of people. I think my Latina heritage has, on the one hand, allowed me to connect in a sense with Spaniards.
Before coming to Spain, I didn't speak any Spanish. I understood it perfectly because my grandmother, being from the Dominican Republic, she only spoke to me in Spanish. But having this experience, being placed in La Rioja, the smallest province, you don't find many English speakers. So it's been a growth experience for me to finally let that second language out.
So for me, coming here and sort of experiencing, the ties between European and Latin cultures has been a way for me to understand that there's not really one way of being Latina, there's not really one way of being Hispanic. There's a lot of different definitions, and it's about the identity and how you feel connected to that place.
For me, I was kind of thinking about that with identity and where do you fit, like South America, Latin America, Spain, somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, and I kind of realized that it's not that you don't fit anywhere, it's that you kind of get to fit everywhere with it.
My perspective of being a Latina in the US has changed on my life, and I think will be. It's a question of identity, and being gathered in the same umbrella as Hispanic with Spaniards is our commonality, but then there are differences of I'm Latina placed in the US. So even Latino groups are asking themselves, how should we term ourselves? Is there room for us in this country? Should we be Latinx? Should we be Latina, Latinos? So Spain has helped me question that identity and find room to explore what that is.
For some reason, I thought that Spain was going to be just like Latin America, just like Puerto Rico, just like the Dominican Republic, and that I would finally find my place and my identity as a Latina woman, as a Hispanic woman. And that hasn't happened, and that's okay, because I have learned a lot in seeing the differences between European culture and Caribbean culture.
Like, one of my favorite things about being here in Spain, about my grand period so far, is that, yeah, like originally I was coming here to be in touch with my mom's side of the family, with their Spanish roots, but being here just made me more in touch with my Dominican roots, actually, all because there's so many things that I found that are in common with Spanish culture and Dominican culture. It's been the most enriching part of the grant period because I didn't expect that whatsoever. It definitely shows that, you know, that's part of our Hispanic heritage, part of our Latino heritage. It's all about mestizaje, and it's not only the indigenous roots that we have, it's not only the black roots that we have, especially in the Caribbean, it's also about the Spanish roots that we have. And we tend to forget that, you know, always, because we bash the conquistadores. So I think that's been the most rewarding part of this grant, just connecting with my Dominican roots in a way that I didn't think possible.
I plan to use the experience that I've gained here in the Fulbright program to better represent my community, to continue to work with children, which is what I'm doing here. I work with infantil and primaria students. I want to continue to spread the message of peace and acceptance, tolerance, love, patience, understanding, and I want to take what I've learned here and apply it within my community in the United States wherever I end up.